Hey y'all, TRG here. In today's video, we're going to be providing a urgent update because we may have the potential for a tropical storm to develop in the southwestern side of the Gulf of Mexico, out near the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and into southern Texas. We will have rainfall impacts all the way from central Texas all the way back to possibly even into Georgia. Let's go right into today's video. So the rainfall impacts really begin tonight out here in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and in Texas. We already have that level 1 out of 4 for excessive rainfall, as well as a level 2 slight risk towards New Orleans. Another slight risk back up here in the northern plains. And then tomorrow we get a moderate out here for excessive rainfall, 3 out of 4 for rain up here in Minnesota. So it could be a very dangerous flood event out there for areas like Minneapolis for tomorrow. But again, that slight risk is maintained for tomorrow out there in Houston and New Orleans back towards Mobile, Alabama. Then day 3, we already have a moderate risk for excessive rainfall out here in Houston, Beaumont, south of Lake Charles, and Bay City, Galveston, Texas as well. So we could have a very dangerous situation unfold out in those areas, as we will most likely have the potential for some life-threatening flash flooding being a concern. Then as we go into day 4 here towards San Antonio, Houston, and other areas, we've got a large slight risk level 2 out of 4 for excessive rainfall. Now, I believe this is going to be for June 19th out here in portions of Texas, again with that level 1 threat for excessive rainfall and then another level 2 threat for excessive rainfall. We will most likely see this day 4 risk upgraded to a moderate for the coastal areas, kind of like we already have with that day 3 risk. Then on day 5, still have a slight risk for excessive rainfall out here in Texas and that marginal surrounding it. Remember that the excessive rainfall scale is on a scale of 1 to 4. The severe weather scale is on a scale of 1 to 5. So a level 2 out of 4 for rainfall is a slight risk, and a level 2 out of 4, or I should say 2 out of 5 for severe weather is a slight risk. So very confusing there, but generally just know that the rainfall outlook is different from the severe weather outlook in terms of the categorical risk. I really wish they do that a little bit differently, but we also have a marginal out here. We'll talk a bit about this system as well. Could have a localized flash flooding threat for Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina as we go into day 5, day 6, which will be the 20th into the 21st. So we'll keep an eye out for that area as well with the next tropical system potential. I don't see much of a tropical storm chance with that, but it does look interesting enough to where I wouldn't be surprised if it sneaks in as a tropical storm. If you guys are enjoying today's video, I ask that you guys please hit that like button, share this video with your family, friends, and on social media, as well as subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's go right back on into today's video. So here's our GFS model over the next couple of hours. As we go into tomorrow, we're going to begin to see this low pressure form on the southwest extent of the Gulf of Mexico. This is really going to start kicking up as we go into early on the 18th. You'll see here the GFS model already has the potential for a tropical storm to have formed out in the southwest extent of the Gulf of Mexico once again, and then make its way up into Texas, actually, with quite the amount of rainfall impacts. I don't think winds will be too big of a concern with this system, but we will take a look at it just in case. I actually haven't checked that myself. Then we get another system that sneaks in over here in the Bahamas, and that we'll see what the GFS does with it. Should throw it right into Florida. That's going to be a Florida system. That's pretty much set in stone already. It could hit southeastern Georgia, maybe some rainfall impacts into South Carolina, but if we get a tropical storm, it should make landfall somewhere along the eastern portion of Florida where I've circled there, and that is going to be for the 19th of June. So we'll be watching 2 areas. The main area to watch is this system here, because it should be a lot more widespread as opposed to this system here. So definitely watching closer towards Louisiana, Mississippi, and most of Texas for that solid flood threat as we go throughout the rest of this week into early next week. Then as we push this forward here to the 21st, those systems obviously begin to deteriorate, and we may see another system out here in the same exact area as we go towards the 23rd. However, that is a little bit too far out to talk about. So here is your total rainfall accumulations based off of the GFS model, and we should see widespread 2 to 4 inches of rainfall along this entire area of Texas back towards Louisiana into I should say more of southern Mississippi, maybe even into southwestern Alabama, western Florida as well. Main area of rainfall is, of course, going to be focused right where that system makes landfall, pointing up to the northeast. So it should be focused in and around the Houston area, pointing back towards the San Antonio region into Galveston, Texas as well. That moderate might shift a little bit further south because there's quite a lot of models that are hinting towards more of southern Texas as the biggest flooding threat. So it's still not set in stone exactly where this system is going to make landfall, but it should be generally around this area. The Weather Prediction Center will continue to shift that moderate risk for excessive rainfall until eventually we go ahead and get rid of all that uncertainty in the model runs. Now, here's the southeastern portion of the U.S., just talking about that other system. Here's its rainfall track right in this general vicinity according to the GFS. Take note that this could shift anywhere from the Bahamas down towards Miami, all the way back up to possibly as far north towards, Charleston, South Carolina, I believe is where that area is. So it could shift anywhere between that area. It's not set in stone by any means exactly where that rainfall will be the highest, but where it is the highest, we could see local amounts up to 5 inches of rainfall with this upcoming tropical system, whereas with that system in Texas, we could see possibly as high as a foot of rainfall in some areas. So here's the official National Hurricane Center outlook. Currently, both of our systems are located generally in the area I've just put 2 black dots at. And you can see there's 30% chance here for a tropical system to form. I should say tropical depression to form is quite large. Like I said, all the way from generally Miami back up towards almost South Carolina. So anywhere along that coastline, that yellow line, maybe even slightly outside of it as well, could see the potential for rainfall impacts out of this system as we go towards the middle portion of this upcoming week. And then, of course, we've got this 70% chance now for the potential of a tropical depression to form towards the Yucatan into the southwest extent of the Gulf of Mexico. And that is most likely going to push tropical storm limits as it goes up towards Texas, and maybe even into, northeastern Mexico there as well. Again, still not set in stone where that's going to make landfall. It may make landfall closer to Mexico as opposed to on Texas. But regardless of if it makes landfall on Texas, we're going to see flash flooding in Texas regardless. So here's the simulated winds based off the GFS model. Now this is just to give you an idea. This is probably going to be very far off, but we're generally going to see gusty winds all the way from about 20 to 40 miles per hour along most of the Gulf coastline from Louisiana back out towards portions of northeastern Mexico as well. So just be ready for some gusty winds out there. I don't think we'll see anything greater than 60 unless we manage to see a very strong tropical storm, which I would be very, very much surprised about that. Just be ready for the potential of a tropical storm. We're basically looking at more of a high-end depression, low-end tropical storm. So this isn't going to be like 80, 90 mile per hour winds over here or anything crazy by any means. We should push the borderline between a named storm and just a high-end depression. But regardless, we're going to have gusty winds out here. We're going to have flash flooding potential. And we may even have a bit of a tornado threat. Let's go ahead and just see if the GFS throws any of that out there. So here's the GEFS ensemble for the average supercell composite as we go into Wednesday afternoon. And it does bring a chance for some tornado ingredients towards Houston and into southwestern Louisiana. We may have the risk of an isolated tornado, but I mean, I really wouldn't anticipate anything more than that. So I wouldn't completely rule out a tornado with this system if it ends up making landfall towards southern Texas or in southeastern Texas. But if it goes towards Mexico, we're probably not going to have much of a tornadic issue. Definitely not something to worry about. Don't worry about the tornado threat with this because it should be very, very low. But, just pointing that out, I wouldn't completely toss a tornado in the trash can. Tropical storm isn't really that significant, but that flash flooding potential is already significant. Again, already a moderate 3 out of 4 for excessive rainfall. So here's the GEFS mean precipitation, the average between all the 30 ensemble model differences here. And you could see we have the potential, according to this, for the threat of 7 to 9 inches of rainfall directly over Houston inside that moderate risk area on the day 3 outlook. And then widespread, of course, 2 to 5 inches of rainfall around that. And then even further away from that, we have the potential for widespread 1 to 2 inches of rainfall all the way from north of the DFW out here towards Wichita Falls, back out southwest, out here towards the Mexico-Texas border, and even all the way far towards southern Mississippi. So definitely quite the notable flash flooding threat could occur here. So if you're anywhere in any of these shaded areas, particularly especially the orange back up towards the DFW, down towards, like I said, west of San Antonio. Anywhere in here, you need to just make sure that you have a plan in place, especially if you're in a flash flood prone area. Make sure you have a very quick way to move to higher ground in case you get under a flash flood warning or possibly a higher end warning than that. Also, make sure you, if you are in the immediate coastline areas, are ready for the potential of gusty winds between 20 to 40 miles per hour just in case that does occur. Currently, there's no watches or warnings out, so there's no reason to prepare for tropical storm force conditions, but you definitely want to just, take these precautions just in case. And even if this doesn't happen, I mean, you're getting ready for hurricane season just in case we see a system out here. So regardless, it's a really good idea to get that hurricane preparedness plan in place, regardless of if this system is even heading your way. Even if you're from Texas all the way up the coastline towards Virginia, make sure you have your hurricane preparedness plan in place because it's hurricane season. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a bit of a shorter video. That is due to it being an urgent update, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream on the 17th. Have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.